Guano de, guano de, guano de, guano danahi. Guanalia, guano danahi. Guanalia, guano danahi. Guanalia, guano de. Guanalia, guano de. Guanalia, guano da. Hey. Ego, igane. Ego, igana. Guanalia, guano danahi. Guanalia, guano danahi. Guanalia, guano de. Guanalia, guano de. Guanalia, guano da. Deyoka, 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 deyoka. Guanalia, guano danahi. Guanalia, guano danahi. Guanalia, guano de. Guanalia, guano de. Guanalia, guano da. Hey, ya, hey, no. Daho.
Good evening. On behalf of Dalhousie University, I would like to welcome you to our second Viola Desmond Legacy Lecture Series. The lecture is being held virtually because of COVID restrictions and is focused on the missing Indigenous women and children with a keynote address by Commissioner Michèle Audette. I am Teresa Rejectali, Vice Provost for Equity and Inclusion, and would like to acknowledge that Dalhousie University is situated in Chibuktuk, the unceded and unsurrendered territory of the Mi'kmaq Nation, and to recognize that we are all beneficiaries from the Peace and Friendship Treaty. We begin by a special Mi'kmaq welcome by Catherine Martin, Dalhousie's Community Engagement Director for Indigenous People, followed by an introduction by myself and Viola Desmond in the lecture series, a short video to introduce our keynote speaker, who will then speak for about 30 minutes. This will then be followed with some pre-recorded messages for Commissioner Odette. Unfortunately, the chat and Q&A are disabled, but we are recording the event and it will be available on our HRES website, Kowe. And now I will call on Catherine.
Valagan. Kwe. Medawalok diok. Nin Gadalan Maltai, Weligiskuk, and it's a beautiful day. Thank you for all coming, and I welcome you all to the unceded territory of my ancestors, the Mi'kmaq, or as we know ourselves, the Ulnu. Thanks to the good thinking and the foreseeing of our ancestors in 1752, we continue to live on our territory under the peace and friendship agreement that we will live our life our way on our territory, and that all those who have come to our land, like the new immigrants of French and British back in the 16 and 1700s, we welcome everyone. We continue to welcome everybody, and especially today, we have a very special guest who's coming to our territory to spend some time with us. So Thank you and enjoy.
Thank you so much, Catherine, for that amazing and warm Mi'kmaq welcome. Why Viola Desmond Legacy Lecture Series, and who is Viola Desmond? Viola Irene Desmond Nee Davis was born on July 6, 1914 in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and died on February 7, 1965 in New York. She was a Canadian businesswoman and a civil libertarian who built a very successful career as a beautician and was a mentor to many young Black women in Nova Scotia and the region. It is, however, the story of her courageous refusal to accept an act of racial discrimination that plummeted her into national recognition. A little bit on her early life and family. Viola was brought up in a large family, including 10 siblings, and her parents were highly regarded within the Black community in Halifax. Motivated by her parents' example of hard work and community involvement, Viola Desmond became a successful independent businesswoman. After a short period teaching in 2 racially segregated schools, she began a program of study in beauty culture in Montreal and then in the US. She returned to Halifax and opened V's Studio of Beauty Culture, catering to the Black community. She was indeed an entrepreneur and a community leader. In the early part of the 20th century, with the advent of new hairstyles that demanded special products, beauty parlors offered opportunities for female entrepreneurs, particularly for Black women. They became a center of social contact within the Black community, as well as allowing Black shop owners to achieve a position of status and authority. Desmond quickly expanded her business across the province. Aware of her obligations to her community, she also created a school in order to provide training and support for the employment of young Black women in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and Quebec. Viola, like her parents, resisted racism and treatment as second-class citizens. During her lifetime, although racism was not officially acknowledged in Canadian society, Black persons in Canada and certainly in Nova Scotia were aware that an unwritten code constrained their lives. So, for example, on the evening of November 8, 1946, Viola made an unplanned stop in the small community of New Glasgow after her car broke down en route to a business meeting in Sydney, Nova Scotia. She arranged for a hotel room and decided to see a movie at the Roseland Theatre. Viola requested a ticket for a seat on the main floor, but was told by the cashier that she was not permitted to sell downstairs tickets to you people. Viola realized that she was referring to her skin color and decided to resist by taking a seat on the main floor. She was confronted by the manager, a police officer was called, and she was dragged out of the theater, injuring her hip and knee. She was issued a warrant for arrest and held in a cell overnight. According to Viola, though shocked and frightened, she maintained her composure and sat bolt and upright all night long. Desmond was charged with attempting to defraud the provincial government without the right to a lawyer. At no point in the proceedings was the issue of race mentioned. Still, it was clear that Viola's real offense was that she had violated the implicit rule that Black persons were not to sit with whites on the main floor of the theater. Decades later, Desmond's story once again received public attention when her sister Wanda Robson, at the age of 73 in 2003, enrolled in a course on race relations in North America at the University College of Cape Breton, now Cape Breton University. Wanda was encouraged to tell her sister's story and published a book, Sister to Courage. It was not until April 15, 2010, that Viola Desmond was granted free pardon by the first Black and female Lieutenant Governor for Nova Scotia, Dr. Mayan Francis. The then Minister of African Nova Scotia Affairs remarked, "With this pardon, we are acknowledging the wrongdoing of the past, and we are reinforcing our stance that discrimination and hate will not be tolerated." Viola Desmond's share in social justice was established at Cape Breton in 2010. The Canada Post issued a postage stamp bearing her image in 2012, and in 2018, a photo of Viola Desmond was selected for Canada's $10 banknote, making her the first non-royal woman and the first Black person on Canadian currency. Although it's difficult to say whether Desmond's experience had a direct effect on the quest for racial equality in the province, in 1954, when segregation legally ended in Nova Scotia, it was in large part to the courageous determination of Desmond and others like her who fought to be treated as equal human beings. It is within this framework and fighting spirit that when Dalhousie celebrated its 200th anniversary in 2018, it was decided that we will host a Viola Desmond Legacy Lecture Series with acclaimed speakers. The first speaker in the series was Angela Davis. COVID has limited our ability to do anything in the 2019-2020 academic year, so this, the second Viola Desmond Legacy Lecture, is being held virtually today. While we are constrained about its format, including having Viola's sister Wanda to be physically here with us, we hope we could bring her to the campus when we install a plaque in Viola Desmond's name in the renovated Cohen Auditorium. Friends, we could not let another year go by without hosting the Legacy Lecture, and we could not have asked for a better representative of Viola Desmond's legacy and spirit as the speaker we have tonight, Commissioner Michèle Audette. Her accomplishments are so many that we have prepared a short video to introduce her. So please enjoy the short video, enjoy the speaker, and let us all reflect on what she has to tell us.
Born of a Quebec father and an Innu mother, Michèle Audette, a mother of 5 children, became involved very early in her life in the fight to end discrimination against Indigenous women. At the age of 27, she became president of the Quebec Native Women's Association. She then held the position of Associate Deputy Minister for the Secretariat for the Status of Women in Quebec, and from 2012 to 2014, she was president of the Native Women's Association of Canada. In 2016, she was appointed Commissioner for the National Inquiry into Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls. Michèle currently works at Laval University in the Office of the Vice Rector, Academic and Student Affairs on Reconciliation and Indigenous Education. Throughout her career, she has made an outstanding contribution to the defense of Indigenous women's rights in Canada. She has successfully advocated and continues to advocate for changes in provincial and federal policies to address discrimination, violence against Indigenous women, and social inequalities.
Well, I'm very happy that a video was made because she has such a long list of accolades and has been working all of her life. We often say the leaders are already leaders before they come onto the earth. So she's been working all of the life that she's had here, and has inspired so many of us. And so at this time, I would just like to thank her for agreeing during this time to be with us. I remember, as many of us who are listening today, we've followed her, we've been inspired by her, and she has, as the National Native Women Association president for several years, as the assistant to the Deputy Minister of Native Status of Women of Quebec, and in other leadership roles, Michèle has been not only inspiring, but she's led us to places like we are today. And of course, her most recent work as the commissioner with the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls, LGBT, and victims of violence. That I know has been one of her dreams. We've all been dreaming together that one day the voices of those women who are unheard and the voices of those women to come will now be heard. And we can't let go. And I know that Michèle has some more ideas for us, so we're awaiting some of those right now. Because we're not able to fly to Montreal, I have a little offering of tobacco that I have for you. There's also some coming to you, and we'll talk about that later. So without further ado, welcome to our territory. Welcome to the place where my ancestors trapped and hunted and fished, and welcomed all kinds of visitors for over 14,000 years. So it's an honor to have you here today and to welcome you. With that, I'd like to invite you to begin. We've been waiting for this for so long.
It's good to be what it says to me, you're backstage. So I was able to have a tear of, oh my God, what a beautiful gift, but also all the words that you and Madame Vice Prevost has mentioned or shared. I have to say, Chinashkamadan, and thank you. Quakes no te hek jabo hogadat no namnendeno de tayano de inosid kama asi majedoto de inot utasiwa. Les Atikamekw, les Abénaquis, les Malécites, les Wendat, et nous, les Inuits. Alors, I have to switch in English. Sorry for the emotions. And honestly, I know this technology is trying to help us to stay connected, but I don't have the capacity of my young teenagers who are so expert with all that those platforms. I'm a kind of person who love to look, to listen, to hug, to laugh, and to cry, just to sit down with the people and just feel the energy of the people who wants to share that kind of energy when we're under the same roof or under the same chapiteau. Thank you so much to Dalhousie University and all the people who work for this event. Thanks for people who are connected through this technology, and maybe add some of my comment. Don't be afraid. I'm very open. Or just to be able to learn what many of us went through, and how today I'm very proud to say that what I did, it's something that many of women and men did way before the National Inquiry and still do today, every day. So thank you so much. And I have to say also, there's a special person, I don't know if she's connected, but she was one of my mentor also, and she was one of my good professor or helper or mentor during this experience at the National Inquiry. So Denise, I'm sending you lots of love. The words that I'm going to try to use in English, as you can tell, I have a little accent. I speak French and learning Innu. And of course, English is my third language. So I'll try to use the word, and you can laugh so I won't know, but you can tell me in private, just joking. But the message is also for Joyce Echaquan, this mother of 7 children from the Atikamekw Nation, who put her last moment of her life on social media, and sad to say, finally, it did shake this part of the country that we call Quebec. And I want to also share and honor all the women and the men that came and spoke their truth, or pushed for a national inquiry, or advocate for change. And today, if we do have some change or major change, it's because of their work, and I have to acknowledge that. And I always saw myself as a person that have to honor the gift that was given to me when I was a little star in the sky. There's some stories in several nations that says we're from the stars. We were little stars. So I did choose Evelyn, my mom, from the Innu Nation, and choose my dad from the Québécois Nation. And I always say to him, you're the most Québécois, because he shows to his society or to his people that, yes, systemic discrimination or injustice and all of that, but also he shows that with love and passion, we can also create strong bridge between the cultures. So I say thank you to them. But I didn't know when I choose my parent, I was gonna almost be born on a train. So they had to stop the train, and I saw my first minute of life in Labrador, so in Wabush Hospital. So my country started to Labrador City to Chilliwack, where my oldest granddaughter lived in BC. But I didn't know also that, probably I knew that time, that choosing those parents, I would be facing the first day of my life segregation, that one wagon was for the savages and the other one was for the white people. But my dad had the right to choose if he wanted to go with the savage, which was the Innu, my people, and also the Naskapi people. But if he did go on our side, and he did, he was and still a good fighter and good ally with us and for us. His folks, his people would look at him, but he didn't care. So probably this is why I have this passion in me for social justice. But this passion also brought an experience that I will never, ever, ever forget. A movement around the country to say, we want to tell our truth. We want to know what happened to our loved one. We don't understand why the system doesn't respond, or it's failing us when we call 911, or when we go to the hospital, when we seek for help, or even we are scared to seek for help because they might take our children or they might judge us. So because of their work, their movement and dedication, we finally had in 2016 a national inquiry. We had to examine all form of systemic causes or all form of violence here in this country. We had to look in each province and territory, including your region, my region, and all the government across Canada, which mean the First Nation government, the Inuit government, but also the Métis government. So it was each province and territory. So it was big, very emotional, very political, very challenging. But why we made it, why we were able to shake an entire world, it's because family members, my expert in my heart and my eyes, they came and helped us to set up this inquiry. They came and helped us to surround us with their expertise, their anger, their tease, their tears, their laugh, their hope and love, to say that would be the approach that we need to do. So we crossed the country, we've heard, we received, we were honored to receive that. And for the rest of my life, I will have to live with that. I will have to carry that gift and make sure that every day I can do a small or a huge step. But the beauty of that, because it was a federal inquiry, but also including for the first time in history in Canada, all the government, it gave us the opportunity to the family and survivor to tell their own government and their own organization, you also have a responsibility. It's not only Monsieur Trudeau who are the next premier or prime minister, depending which government we want to talk about, or the next chief, or the next prévôt or vice prévôt. It's all of us responsibility. We collected 10,000 recommendations. 10,000. That was big. That was huge. we manage again with the families and survivors to make sure that which one we should prioritize, which one we have to reiterate again because it seems it's not heard or enact in the institution in this country. So we ended with 250 plus a report for Quebec government, who sometimes will think it's only an issue in the West Coast or East Coast, but not here. So we did a gift to the Quebec government. They have their own report en français and in English. We couldn't achieve that if the voice of the women didn't come up to the front line and speak to the society, but also to create a new definition here in Canada. A definition for me that it was something we've been living for too long, genocide. A word that only even my dad, who found out that it was going to be one of our conclusion or the conclusion and then the rest will follow, that he said, Michèle, don't go there. You will lose your credibility. People seem to like you. You fought for that. You had to fight against racism, to have your own space. You never finished school. And now you have an opportunity to keep that credibility. And we both of us were crying. And I said, you know that, I understand, but you put me on earth to fight or to love or to continue or to be a tool for those who cannot speak or for those who maybe think they can't and they'll be better than me and way stronger when they realize that they have that power. So I cannot pretend that to please the credibility that you think I have, it's not my job. It's not why I'm unheard. It's to tell the truth. We'll see after. We'll deal. Just be there if it's hurt, if it does hurt me. I didn't have to say anything. He was so proud that, my God, the women and the men who spoke to us, the UN community, the OAS, Inter-American community, all those human rights body was looking at Canada the day we present the report, reacting also. And now, because of that truth, it became, and that report, it became imperative, legal imperative. So nobody can say it's just something that it happens somewhere, or it's an isolated situation, or it seemed wild. Probably it's just right. No. It's been there for 500 years. Colonial violence, we're responsible even in 2001 as individual and also as society to stop that colonial violence. And that kind of action that you're doing today is one of many I'm sure you do. And I have to acknowledge that. So to be honest with you, also, it is something that maybe it looks big, it looks huge. Oh my God, 1,200 page of words that came from women and men. How am I going to take that? How am I going to implement this? Well, you can take many ways. And I know universities did that shift when the Truth and Reconciliation Inquiry presented their call for action. And since that, we saw, and some of them way before, the change that they did and the shift that they did. And for me, it's very huge. Why? Why education it's huge? It's because ignorance nourish the action or the bias that we can have towards a group or an indigenous group. Sorry, my dog thinks he's the doorbell, but I guess I'm not the first one. And also, so sorry. And also, an example where university hold a huge power. He's competing with me now. And 200 students in health to become the next doctors, medicine, doctors here in Quebec. The teacher says, you have a case here, a situation. A man, he's 40 years old. he arrived at the emergency and he's unconscious. He's got some puke here, vomit. What do you think he has? And what would be the suggestion you would provide to him? 200 responses was, and I quote what the professor said to us. He's native, I forgot to mention, Indigenous. He is intoxicated, he's drunk, or he's stoned. When it was nothing to do with drinking or using substance or drug, it was that he fell in coma. So this person, the professor said, the bias, inconscient bias, could kill somebody. So we have to face the systemic discrimination, the racism, but also the unconscious bias. So thank God, thank Creator, I'm not alone. We have amazing warriors. So university hold that power to create the leaders of today that will be more informed, more prepared, more sensitive. So when we ended it in court, or when we are arrested, or when we're sick, or when we seek for information, we have people well prepared, open heart and open mind. So there's many ways on those calls for justice that you can take and say, that would be my commitment for 2021 till my mandate is over, or if I come back again as the governor of this university. So to finish, so we can have an exchange among us, I have to say that every one of us, no matter where in the society or in the system we are, we do say strongly colonial violence is the root cause. We do say Indian Act, it hurts. We do say that the system is reacting differently when it's an Indigenous person. We have to prove. But who does honor or make it alive? You know, that system, it's you and me. It's the individual. So this is why I say we all have a responsibility. So let's not be afraid to know the past, to acknowledge the past, but let's be proud of what you do, to have an elder, to have people very sensitive, and making sure that we do not accept, we denounce, but we make sure that if we do denounce, there's something also to welcome the person affected by this situation or this discrimination. And let's not be afraid also to have that relationship or rebuild the relationship with the nation that are the one who hold the territory or responsible for this territory. I'm very proud today to work within a university and share or learn from other universities that the responsibility, it's not in the past or the future, but it's right now. We have to act now so we don't lose Raphael, André, like we did one of our brother in that chemical toilet in Montreal. So many of the new people and other nations, we're driving next Monday to Montreal and give a huge tent to the homeless people and bring 75 people to work 24 hours a day, all week until the cold is less cold in Montreal, to make sure that they have a safe place. And Indigenous or not, we will welcome everybody to stay warm and secure. So I hope that I can share some love to you, and now you can bring that love and say, I'm part of the change. And I will honor the missing and murdered Indigenous women by a little or a huge action in my own region. Merci beaucoup. Chinashka maintenant.
Thank you, Commissioner Odette, Michèle. On behalf of Dalhousie, I would like to sincerely thank you for that touching and inspiring presentation, and to let you know we hear you. You gave us a clear message that universities are responsible for graduating socially conscious leaders of the future. So thank you for that very strong message. When I met you a few weeks ago virtually, I sensed that we would have a presentation filled with knowledge and experience, but also embedded in soul and spirit. And that's just what you did. So thank you again on behalf of the university and our participants. We have organized a small gift of thank you, which will be delivered to you if you have not already received it. So it's just a small token. Okay, so you got it. So thank you very much. For those of you watching on, the kind of person that Commissioner Odette is, she asked us to use her honorarium to present to an appropriate charity, and we promised that we will. So again, thank you for that. I will now pass it on to Catherine, because I know there's some folks out there who want to bring greetings to you. And we have some time, so I'm hoping at the very end that you can use the time left to give us some closing remarks and tell us anything that you want to tell us again. So thank you, and hope to see you real life soon.
Well, Walalin. Yes, we've been pretty busy getting ready for your visit, your virtual visit to us. And I was going to interrupt and say, why don't you go to the door and see what the dog is barking at? Did somebody come to the door?
Yeah, somebody brought a partial.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Funny how things happen today. That is something that you're going to have to look at before we finish. Okay, so yeah. Anyway, thank you. I could listen to you all day, and I know so many of the people that are on the online listening could as well. And I really loved the relationship you've built with our communities and with the inquiry and the work that we did together as a committee. And so it feels like my life is becoming a welcome Michèle Audette. We spent a year preparing for welcoming Michèle and her commission to Cape Breton, to member to. So we did that, and now we're welcoming you again. And I know a lot of the messages, hopefully you're going to hear some of them today, are also doing that. So I'd like to tell you that we wanted to keep it open to Q&A, but lots of reasons that it wasn't a good idea.
It's true.
Yeah. And so we've prepared a few videos. I don't know how many yet. We'll see. And if they're, and then you can respond to them, and then we'll talk about that. Don't open that present until after. Okay. So I am going to now pretend I'm a switcher at the television station, and I'm going to ask our techies to begin by playing our first video.
Juliak, Dalhousie Lorraine Whitman, grandmother white sea turtle and president of Native Women Association of Canada. I would like to first acknowledge the territory of Mi'kma'ki, unceded traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq people. And I'm really excited today, and especially when I'm introducing and welcoming Michèle Audette back to our territory of Mi'kma'ki. And Michèle, thanks again for all of the work that you have done. You've been so instrumental in the initiatives that you've done for the Indigenous people, not only for the women, the girls, and our gender diverse community, but all peoples. The most important gift that you have given to all of us is the sacred gift, and that of being love, compassion for your people, and the courage to speak up. So as president of NWAC, on behalf of us and all of the women, we would like to walalin with open hearts to you, Michèle, for all of your contributions. And I'm very proud to be here today to express our thanks and our gratitude. Walaliak from Mi'kma'ki, from our people, from the women at NWAC, all of our girls and our gender diverse. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Walalin, Michelle. And again, welcome to Mi'kma'ki, where you have done so much work here for our women. Walalin.
Gwe, Bojo Ani, Tansi, Sego, Skanangoa. Greetings from my heart to yours. My name is Jane Meader, a Mi'kmaq woman from the traditional lands of Unama'ki and a citizen of the Wabanaki Confederacy. A few years ago, I was invited to attend the inquiry for our murdered and missing sisters that was held here in my home community of Membertou, and I had the opportunity of observing many of the testimonies given by our relatives. I want to thank you, Michèle Audette, for your kindness and the love you have for our people, especially those that are hurting so much from these losses. I watched as you listened so intently, with both your heart and your spirit, while your presence and your empathy helped ease their pain. Your generosity of spirit will never be forgotten in Mi'kma'ki. And as a commissioner, I want you to remember that you were truly a light and a gift for our loved ones who were in mourning and deep pain. Kesalulek, Olalie, Chinigwech, and Yawa.
I was so happy to have her. And then I knew that there was going to be an empathy from her as just being a new person, not just that this is my job. This is not just that I'm doing this, not just because I've been appointed the commissioner, but with a true, actual, empathetic mindset of listening to whomever she was listening to. I think the inquiry put a face on the whole, a face and a spotlight on the murdered and missing Indigenous women. That's what it did. It forced the media to attend. It forced the the world to take notice. It forced Canada to kind of say, oh, what, who, what's going on? For me personally, I was glad when I walked in that room, and other people knew who she was. I didn't know her from a hole in the wall. So when I walked in to have a face, a familiar face in terms of her being Indigenous, really added that sense of comfort, and which is why I haven't forgotten it. I didn't need to know her name before walking in, but as soon as I saw her face, she was like a sister, like in a sense of having someone like you listening.
I would say it was an honor to meet you. I am super, super proud of all of your accomplishments and the fights that you've brought forward politically and nationally, the recognition that you're giving to the families, to the Indigenous culture and communities, both on a lower level as well as on a national level. I want to say you've heard our stories, and even though the inquiry has ended, it hasn't ended for us. So being where you are in a position of power, you can't drop the puck now. You have to keep fighting, because families that are here and alone need to know that they have somebody to look up to. And I look up to Commissioner Odette and all the commissioners that sat on our panel, because now they have to live with our truth, and that is on them. And that is a responsibility. That is a very heavy responsibility and burden at times. You made a promise to enact justice. Stand by your words. Don't just ad lib. Don't do it just to pacify. Do it because it's the right thing to do, and you're in a position to continue this fight. And you're not doing it alone. We're behind you, but we just got to know that you still have our back, like you did at the commission, at the hearings. So thank you, and continue doing the good work that you're doing.
Good afternoon, Commissioner Michèle Audette. I would like to send out this personal thank you to you for the impact that you had on me when I gave my testimony in regards to my late mother at the National Inquiry. My mother, the late Nora Madeline Bernard, was the one that spearheaded the largest class action suit in Canadian history, where she helped her fellow survivors from the Shubenacadie Indian Residential School receive compensation. She was such a trailblazer. And as I sat and I told my story, I looked up and I remember that I became so emotional and recalling what had happened to her, how she was murdered, and just looking at your face. And I remember I did get choked up and I looked over and you said, just take your time. There's no rush. I had my supporters with me. They smudged me. I was given a glass of water. And it truly meant a lot to me because it was a very, very emotional time. And where my family was, my immediate family was ostracized because of who had murdered our mother. And I guess when I walked into the room, I was expecting something similar to that. And I did not receive that. I was welcomed, I was supported, and just seeing you sit there and to give me that support was such an amazing feeling. And I would like to say thank you to you for being one of my champions. I have continued on with my education, and 2 years ago, I received my Master's of Education from the Mount St. Vincent University. And I continue on with my forgiveness projects and hoping that one day again um, that I will meet up with you and to be able to uh, sit and have a chat with you or have a cup of tea with you. But congratulations on all your endeavors. And I am so honored to have met you. And I thank you again. Wala Umsitnogama.
The dog was telling me or telling you something arrived from your territory. And before I make comments, I have a big favor to ask you if it would be possible to have a Zoom or a team or something that your university use so we can have that conversation with the people who did the video in another day.
Yeah, we will try to organize it, Commissioner.
What?
Yeah, there's a
Yeah, Commissioner, I have a question that I would like to ask.
Yes, I'm digesting the video or the
Right.
processing.
Well, it's linked to that. It's linked to that. Can you give us some ideas of how to keep hope alive? What can we draw on to keep fighting? What do you draw on to keep fighting?
What keep me fighting? Is that the question?
Yep.
Okay. I probably because on that part, I think there's something very natural because of so many truths that we've heard was also my life, was also my experience, was also those reasons why I wanted to commit suicide in 2013.
Take your time.
to give up. But it's also the forgiveness, the healing, to say that the violence or the people I can see still alive today, community, our community is small, or the larger community, it's realizing that when I was capable to accept that I'm not a superwoman, I'm perfectly non-perfect, I'm a human person, and I cannot solve that past by myself and fight those ghosts or that huge injustice, which is the racism and the discrimination. I quickly understood that there's a bigger community there with many wisdom, with many knowledge, with many people that found their path for a more balanced or a better way of living. Not rejecting like I was doing or using something to forget or hurting myself to put the pain to another place, but to say, okay, it is part of me. And from that, something magic or something natural came, that I was getting that call that day where my twins and my son were following me like my mom did. I was following her. It's cute, that cycle, to those conferences where I was giving some lecture or on a panel, blah, blah, and they were using my phone. And at the end of the day, at the supper, because I promised them, I bought the quietness, saying, we'll go somewhere where you want to go eat. So they choose the place. They were quiet, but they saw the number. And they said, not again, that person, Mom. She's annoying us. She was stopping our game all the time. And she speaks English. So I pick up the phone. And it's true, it was 613. And it was the minister who said, would you be willing to accept one of the positions for the inquiry? I was like, I forgot to consult my family, my partner. I just said, yes, at the restaurant. And my kids were wondering, what's going on? Are you okay? And on a napkin, I said, yes, I was. And since that moment, I made sure that I have some ghost, I have a past, I have some trauma, I cannot deny, but how can I be capable and humble or surrounded by people who will help me to do what I have to do and stay as human as I can, to stay, at that place. Michèle. So social worker, elders, psychologists, or people who made me laugh were the reason that I was able to do that, helping me. But to be honest with you, Teresa, the worst part came 6 or 9 months after, when I had to accept that, oh my God, nothing is happening. Election, everybody's busy, the government, it's not going well, there's a mobilization, and then there's a COVID. This is where I felt solid. And I said, I have exactly like Vanessa said, the lips, la? Make sure that you honor your words, I would say that. It was obvious for me that it did affect me spiritually and physically and emotionally. So I had to go seek for help and say, how can I carry this, that it doesn't put me on the floor or on the ground, and I can stay and find that balance, that I will be a strong advocate, but healthy. And ceremony and getting help was and still is my medicine today. And knowing that, oh my God, like an elder said, come on, the responsibility, it's all of us now. It's not only you and the commissioner, you. And I was like, it's so true. So the guiltiness, I switched that in, let's move every day if we can. And if we can't, somebody else will take over, and then I'll come back.
Thank you for Michèle for sharing that with us. It's very helpful because I'm sure many of us listening in ask the same question of ourselves. And I'll let Catherine, if she has something to ask you, but I have another question. We've been collecting questions as well.
Okay.
And one of the questions, to just switch it a little bit so that people can get their Kleenex out of the way. I mean, us looking in, what do we say to people who consistently tell us, particularly in Canada, that we do not have systemic racism? That
it's a personal solution for me that it worked and it's helping me because I had the choice when I said in 2013 why I ended at the hospital. It's I nourish every day my anger, that it became hate. So I couldn't have a clear mind. So today, if we do remember, and I think, Catherine, you remember those days at NWAC when the government that time was the Conservative. And Bernard Valcourt was the Minister of Aboriginal Affairs. He was against the national inquiry. He was against. And me, I was on behalf of a group or a movement with many other, adding my voice or bringing the voice. We need a national inquiry. And I said to myself, it's 24 hours a day. I dream in English now. I fight in English in my dreams now against that person. So I said to myself, okay, I have a choice. He doesn't want to change his mind. Fine. I'll move and do some politics or creative things to force him to create a table, a national table where we'll have Indigenous groups, leadership, and WAC was part of that, and the federal government to talk about the violence that women are facing and the disappearance. You don't want an inquiry? Make an action. I corner him. That was a way for me I have to bring that fight to another place because he's stubborn and they have the power. Same today with the Quebec government who refuse very loudly that there is no systemic racism here in Quebec. Okay, I want to stay strong. So until they're in the power, I said to myself, they won't be there forever. Maybe yes, I hope not. I hope yes, it's something else. I will make sure that we work strongly on concrete action that give answer or protect the women or change a system. Somebody else is doing the debate. I don't have to do it. Universities, teachers, shares, people are doing the debate that there is, and here are the fact and the reason. I still believe there is for me, but this is how I stay healthy in that huge frustration. The other thing also, if they don't believe it belongs to them, it's sad to say, it's giving the tone for the next leadership until they're gone. We have to find ways during that time that we are protecting, we are saving life, or we are arising, lifting, or putting the women and the girl at the front, or honoring them. So it's going to be a huge challenge, and I still believe this is why for me in the school, when you start until l'université, they have a huge, beautiful responsibility to make sure that the next premier will say, of course there is, and here action that we'll put in place to end that.
Thank you. I have one last question, and then I'll pass it to Catherine so she can raise some of the things that the Indigenous community asked or sent that they would like to hear from you. And This one is a little selfish. You work with a lot of universities. What can you tell us? What recommendation would you give to us so that we can produce those socially conscious leaders that you told us that it's our responsibility?
So I might. It's a good question, but of course I don't know exactly all the action that you put in place or started or wish to achieve. But I would say it seemed here in Quebec what they noticed, Laval University wasn't the first one who put in place an action plan. We just presented last December an action plan on reconciliation, but the name of the plan is really le plan en action avec les premiers peuples, in action with the first people. Okay, so it became an institutional action plan. It's not in a faculty or in a program. Now it's set within that governance.
Mm-hmm.
That theory is competing now. It set the tone that it's not a program or a sector or department. It's the governance of that institution that says, here are the action that we need to do collectively to make sure that we are part of that change. When we talk about the relation or more Indigenous student or how can we support them and etc. It's depend what is the priority in your university. That for me, it set the tone also. It's very important because, Teresa, I said to my boss, who has the same title than you, Monsieur Beauregard, you're so kind, you're awesome. I'm super bubbly and full of energy, but you and me are gone. Doesn't matter the reason. The next person who will fulfill my pair of moccasin or the pair of moccasin of that special advisor on reconciliation, and the next vice prevost or the prevost, it's not the priority for them. It's got nothing to do with Indigenous people. So what do we leave in that institution as a legacy that will stay, no matter who is at the head? And how do we make sure that it become a culture in that organization of how we work and how we enter the relationship with the Indigenous people and the needs? So for me, it's one of the important things that I would say, many institutions could do, and also your university, probably you have it. And making sure that it's co-built with the nation. Like I said, the 200 students that will become the next doctor here in Quebec, I'm sure they all have good heart, all good intention. But because the system, media, and the education made them believe that all Indians are drunk, and we call them Indians when they are Ulnu, Atikamekw, Abenaki. So also making sure that if we can provide a course, Indigenous 101, of course, about the history, but who we are today, the major thing that we did, the fight. Some will say the fight on the lobster, when other thing, it's a ceremony with the lobster. It's how our perspective, vision, and passion sometimes clap, Indigenous and Canadian. So because we don't teach that beauty or those facts in our school, we are just putting that to another generation. So if your university was willing to say, okay, from now on, we have the obligation to learn English or French, and then we have the obligation to learn about our Ulnu people. And they'll be the one creating that course with us. Wow. So you have that. And then in each faculty, if I want to be a nurse, I have that 101 Indigenous, but also 102 and 502 on how can I work on health with the Indigenous people. That would be so powerful. And having an elder, we don't even at Laval University, but because I have white hair, maybe I could know, but I would just want to make a little bit of humor, but you have something very powerful and beautiful in place that also we should, and we would love to have that. And I have a place also that I don't feel as an Indigenous student to go to a place that it's so not my color, my spirit, or my culture, so I don't feel secure. And to finish, for an Indigenous person to succeed, it's not the same vision or definition, and again, perception of my white colleague, Michel Dewal, who before we met, for him or other people, it's you do your baccalaureate within 3-4 years, it's awesome. You do your master within 2, blah, blah, and that's a success. Well, for an Indigenous mom and super grandmother and taking care of the world, it might take 20 years. And for her, that's a success.
Thank you, Michelle. Just as an FYI, Dalhousie is getting ready to move their minor to a major. But before we do that, there are going to be consultations with the community.
Bravo.
So we are being led by some great Indigenous faculty and staff and students here on the campus. But I want to pass the virtual talking stick to Catherine, because I know there were other videos that were submitted, and we'll make sure and get them all to you and put you in contact with the people who submitted those videos. But Catherine, maybe you can let Odette know, Commissioner Odette, know some of the messages or concerns that came up with you when you approached the community that we were going to have on this program. The microphone, you are muted for some reason. Still muted.
I'm so happy to have Vice Provost as my techie. She's really good. So much that you said, we have to have a conversation with a few of us. I noticed over the last, a little expedited over the last 5 years that across the country, and you're probably paying attention a little bit now that you're in a university setting, that it's like a chess game where people are getting set, the pawns and the kings and the queens and all of these. A lot of us have been fighting and activating and trying to get things going for years. And several of us are being placed in positions at universities. And I keep imagining, why can't we have all of us together and talk once a month and share some of those ideas, because they're the same ideas, and why should we keep repeating the same old? And wouldn't it be just wonderful just to have coffee and tea once a month while we have COVID, because we can access each other. We know you're there. We know you're not gone anywhere. So,
Or stuck on the plane.
Yeah, there's so many women, especially women, that have taken positions at universities, and we should gather them together to work with the universities on that. So that's a bit off, but not really. I spoke with Mona Bernard. She's from Wagelma. She is the mother of Cassidy Bernard, and you met her. You met her because she had come to the inquiry to help somebody else. Mm-hmm. And then someone told her, because she had lost her son, Carlisle, he was found in the Sydney River. Someone said, you should go and talk about that, because it's not just for men. So she told you the story, and little did she know that she would be once again back, not even a year later, to work with us in helping her family to heal from the loss of Cassidy. So she spoke, she videotaped, and it was hilarious. I called all these people and said, I only need a 2 to 3 minute message. So I started quite a while ago, and everybody, as you know, was too busy. So they all said yesterday they could do it. And so for my 2 to 3 minutes, I had an hour at least each with them. Yeah. Wow. So it was great. I don't know if hers is.
So there was no place for people to be bringing about policy change or doing change on the ground or supporting families. We were not support services. But
okay, so who's that?
Denise!
I thought you'd remember that. This is a guessing game. It's kind of like, this is your life, Odelle. Michelle. Okay.
A lot on Michelle. And
I'll start her.
I just want to tell her thank you for being brave.
This one is Annie. I'm not going to, you wouldn't remember her because she doesn't really know you very much yet.
Okay.
She's a chief of.
See you later. One love.
Yeah. She's a chief of White
And
Cog.
I also want to say that.
And she is the supporter of Mona. She's always there. They're very related. So she talked
the dark hair.
Yeah, she's a chief, and she's the president of Native Women in Nova Scotia.
Okay.
Knowing Michelle personally, I've read a lot on Michelle, and I just want to tell her thank you for being brave, for standing up in a time when it's hard for, as an Indigenous woman, to be heard, to be listened to make moves, to change policy, to change legislation, to make all these right moves that go towards the bigger picture. She's a pioneer. She should be given accolades upon accolades upon accolades. And I want to thank her for being a role model to me as well. And Michelle, I hope to meet you someday.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. And the pictures of them, you're going to get all these videos, but I wanted, they all took their time, and I wanted to play them. So we have 4:11. So we have 20 minutes, and that's given us enough time to wrap things up. Go ahead.
We were going to ask Michelle to open her gift.
Yep.
So
I was like a kid. Can I do it now? But
so as you're doing it, I will do a little talking.
Okay.
There's a little more coming, but it's just not right now. But this is the appropriate gift that arrives to you now. It comes from Millbrook. It comes from my community. And I wasn't trying to be favorite. This was just something I thought we should give you. And as many of you know, the highest honor that one can receive is the gift of an eagle feather. So we talked a lot to each other about what we should send you. And we have lots of things we want you to have. And we know you have too much there because you said you have lots of beautiful things. So this is a kit for you on the road kit. And in it, it's made by Lone Wolf of Millbrook. He's my cousin, Ricky Glode, and Natalie's Glode's husband. Yeah. And so this is a gift they make, and they a few special people like Teresa has received one of these boxes. A few people.
Oh, wow.
Not as elaborate, Michelle, so.
Oh, wow.
What does the top look like? Oh, yes, that's the way. So that's the Mi'kmaq woman, the Abenaki woman of the petroglyphs. And then on either side are double curve motifs. And they kind of tell you It's custom. Whatever we do in a way as Mi'kmaq is custom, and that's what those symbols mean.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fun box. You're going to have fun.
Wow.
So we gift you that eagle feather, and everybody can send in notes and congratulate you, because when you receive it, we have a ceremony. We're going to wait, but for now, everybody is, we pass that feather around and everybody gives us.
Oh, ben merci, Chineshka Madame. It is a big gift.
What are you doing? Ricky? Oh, yes. And this is by Crystal Glowed.
Oui.
And she makes these beautiful birch bark angels, but she can't keep up with her orders. So she said, "Oh, I have this. Would this work?" And I said, "Of course." It's a birch bark medallion with mudawis, which is porcupine, mudawis quills, porcupine quills, and it's of the red dress, a traditional woman with a red dress. Yeah.
Can I say something?
Of course, Michelle. You get the last word, so you can talk about whatever you want to talk about. And just to bring us full circle, can you end by also telling us how could we continue with the fight against the missing Indigenous women and children?
Well,
so what are you going to tell us about the birch bark?
I was going to say, one of my son, his name is Gawi, or Gaoyak, which means porcupine.
Yeah.
And he's a Basque, Gawi Basque.
Uh-huh.
His dad is from Lestaguch.
Uh-huh.
From the Basque family.
Who?
Eleanor Basque.
Okay.
And when my mom, it was like 25 years ago, 26, she said, "Really? A Mi'kmaq?" I said, "Yes, he's so gorgeous." Not only that, they used to steal our women on the shore. So now they still stealing our women. Don't get pregnant. I had Gawi. I said, "Sorry, I am." So we have a son, and his dad is from Lestaguch. So the grandmother, Eleanor Basque, she gave the name of Gawi, and we said, "What does it mean?" And she explained. I said, "Oh, Ogawiak for us." So it's powerful.
Well, I knew whatever was going to go to you was what had to go. I had
yeah. So you don't know what I have.
No.
So I'll do my Vanna Inu Brown.
Okay.
Okay, she says, "Oh my God."
Oh, yes. That is the tree of life that Ricky makes. Are they amethyst? Because it looks pink.
Yes, they are.
Okay. Because amethyst is very popular and very important to the Mi'kmaq. It's
I didn't know.
Glooskap made his mother or grandmother a necklace of amethyst stones that come from the land there.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to help you out. Just keep it in your window, and that will keep it powered up.
Parfait. I'll do that. And one more ici.
Aha! Yes.
First time I see this way.
Well, it's a sweetgrass angel.
Oui.
And I think that Natalie makes those. And her mom, Nora Bernard, was famous for her sweetgrass angels.
Wow.
So you're getting medicine as well as a present. So you get the sweetgrass, you have the sage in there, you have cedar in that box, and some tobacco.
Wow.
So you got tobacco from us. See how quick we are? We're really good. We just
you're good. You're good.
Timed it perfectly.
I was panicking. I said, Whoa, it's something big because I never heard my dog go so loud, and I didn't have a remote control so
Yeah, your dog was part of the conspiracy. He knew.
Yes,
he knew.
because we were saying we were going to try to get your assistant. She said, "No, we're in lockdown." So we asked the dog. I said, "Okay, well, who will be there?" And the dog said, "Yes, he would do it."
Okay.
So to respond to you, to respond to your very, very, very good question. Again, I don't pretend that this is the solution, but just to educate. If the university can make a statement to commit on the call for justice, that it's close to you, and you will see, because you're giving the gift of the leader of today and tomorrow in your university. So you have that power, that gift to do that. It's to make a statement, have a ceremony. Maybe it's something that it's already happened, but making sure also that we are accountable when we make a statement where we're at now. So to not be afraid to say it didn't go far enough, or we'll try something else. But it's nice to have a policy or a statement, but it's more powerful when we know that we are informed of the evolution. So that would be one of the things that you could do, and making sure that in every class they have access to the report. It's free, it's online, that they could at least read the summary report, and bring as much as you can all the family that share a video, to bring a spirit when when a teacher or a class or a program talks about this important chapter or in the history of Canada. When you have the expert telling with their voice the impact and the hope, I believe that the student will never forget that moment. So that would be an amazing action that the university could do.
Michèle, thank you. You made me a student. I was taking notes. So that I will not disappoint you. We want to thank you so much. And as I said in the first meeting that we had, we will bring you in person. Community, Dalhousie, we are all waiting for you anxiously. I would like to thank you tremendously, because I know when we first approached you, there was no hesitancy. And you did this on a personal level as well. And we do appreciate it. I want to thank the audience who tuned in to help you. I'd like to thank Catherine for helping organize all of this, particularly the videos, all the women who submitted videos, and we will make sure that you get those videos and the contact information.
Wow.
So again, thank you for the behind-scene crew. We never get to see them, but they've been telling us what to do. Again, on behalf of the organizing committee for the Viola Desmond Legacy Lecture Series, we thank you, and we will see you in person soon.
Merci infiniment, Chineshka. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.